Adventure Tours as the office manager. For those of you who weren't present at GTA's first product launch, Guyanese Adventure Tour was officially launched on November 16th. So it's a new tourism company. Sadly, our director, Mr. Klaus Christopherchin, isn't here with us today. So let's just get right into it. It's with great pleasure that I present a new signature tour of ours. I introduce you to our Tapakuma camping and fishing expedition. It's our first overnight tour. 1 night, 2 days, packed with fun. For those of you who aren't familiar, Tapakuma is located about 14 miles from Regina. The journey to and from Tapakuma is an enjoyable one. With our trained and certified tour guides with you every step of the way. We have Mr. Kevin at the back there, one of our tour guides. Fun activities such as fishing, a trail walk to Dawa Pump Station, a village tour, swimming for those of you who can, sightseeing, storytelling, and finally, forest bathing. Before you ask, no, you'll not be showering in the forest, but you'll be given the opportunity to take in the atmosphere of the forest and appreciate nature's beauty. Of course, all camping equipments will be provided, which include tents, airbeds, and sleeping bags. If you're like me and you have a special blanket and pillow you cannot sleep without, feel free to pack them. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and beverages will all be provided and locally sourced to give you the full Tapakuma experience and to promote sustainable tourism. So when you're ready for a camping adventure, give Guyanese Adventure Tours a call and let's bring that dream to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Clear, actually, in that tour, you got to see, although it's a bit adventurous, it's something that's relatively comfortable for those who are not too hardcore into the jungle. You actually get the chance to camp out, be relaxed, and bring your blanket along in case you don't feel safe or comfortable without it. Well, moving on to the next tour, I'd like to mention something special about Georgetown. Part of your experience in Guyana is not complete without history. And as you walk through Georgetown, most times, we're too busy. We don't really notice anything. But if you take time to breathe it in, soak it in, and actually pay attention to all the little details in Georgetown, no matter how much it's changed, there's history everywhere. It's a city that's alive. We call it the Garden City. The Garden City. But there's so much more to it. So the next tour I'd like to introduce to the podium is one that actually gives you the opportunity to see more of Georgetown. The different things that you may not have noticed or heard while growing up, and the things that you don't notice while you're moving through, rushing through your hustle and bustle of your daily life. So please, with a warm round of applause, welcome the Singing Chef Adventurers to present their 1 cent magenta tour.
Good afternoon, everybody. It does seem to work. Okay, so we developed this tour because one of the most famous relics in the world is the 1 cent magenta. And people don't seem to really know much about it, but the world certainly does. So we brought together a tour that is designed to accommodate those Guyanese abroad, the international travelers, and particularly the locals. Okay. So it's the rarest and most famous stamp in the world. It is changing hands at colossal amounts of money, breaking auction records since records began on stamps. The next one, thanks. It was first discovered by a 12-year-old schoolboy, a Vernon Vaughan, amongst some family papers, on a 1856 edition of the Royal Gazette, Georgetown, in 1873. The disparity between the dates is because his uncle left Guyana and went to live in Barbados for 17 years. And it's only when he died that they decided to dispose of the house he left, and they were going through the papers and they found this stamp. He sold it for 6 shillings, apparently convinced that he would be able to find a better example of the stamp that no one ever has. It's the only one in the world. Vaughan was not looking for a megabuck payoff, but still the 1 cent magenta proved to be hard to get rid of. He wanted money to get more stamps and decided it had to go. He took it to New Neil Ross Mackinnon, who was well known in British Guiana, not only as a first name, but an early village. It was no longer an ordinary stamp, a disposable element on a newspaper that was itself disposable. From the 1870s on, the 1-cent magenta was prized tucked away in closely storage cabinets in palaces or vaults in banks, and it fit the definition of collected objects prescribed by the cultural historian Philip Blum in 2011. Such things are like holy relics, he wrote. They have shed their original function and become totems, and the 1-cent magenta is a totem of the stamp world. Thanks. Every time it is sold, it's generated headlines and records. Perhaps we are drawn to its history of wealthy, secretive, and sometimes troubled owners. Maybe its origins in the far-flung holdings of the British Empire lends it an irresistible air of romance. On the other hand, the stamp's mystique may stem from its own elusiveness. It has spent most of its 160-year plus behind bank vault bars, appearing only on rare occasions. This is the headline. One of the times it's sold for a record amount of money, 0.9 million. Books. This is a fantastic book, devoted to magenta, and is available online for you. And this, in 1952, there was a comic book by Walt Disney, and it was at that time where daring do and adventure stirred the souls of little boys. And they did stamp collecting is big-time business. Why, there's one old stamp from British Guiana. It's worth more than $50,000. And this comic book is really rare. We've got a copy of it, actually. We put it on the tour. And this is President Ali in London at the Stanley Gibbons head office when I'd acquired the 1-cent magenta. And as you can see, he's admiring it. Now, we wanted to include on the tour aspects for these stamp collectors because the British Guiana stamp and the Guyana stamps are the most collected in the world because of its roots with the 1-cent magenta and because it was the third postal service in the world. So what we looked at is all the stamps that have been printed over the years, both British Guyanese and Guyanese, and we know that the people that are on these tours will have copies of all these stamps. They will be collecting them. So we chose the manatee because it was actually printed on a Guyanese stamp in 1993. And we're going to be taking them down to the national park, feeding the manatees. The British Guiana 1-cent magenta was bought for $8.3 million, right, in June 2021. This is a recent thing. Next one, please. And what they've done is, this is the last time it will ever be at auction. So Stanley Gibbons needs more things to thread through to those 80,000 people who all bought a partial stake in the stamp. They sold 50% of the stamp to partial ownership and they retained 50%. And this is the actual certificate of ownership, which everybody gets. He called it the Holy Grail of Philately, and it is. There's nothing better, everybody knows it. First post office. Right, next one. And here, Parliament Building was actually the site of where the 1-cent magenta was actually sold and mailed from. And they were prepared at the Gazette offices in the Cummingsburg district, near Courts actually, if you want to get a thing on that. And it's now, the printing press is now housed at the National Museum of Guyana. We also, on the tour, we visit the Walter Rodney Archive because I think it's fascinating. There's the Royal Gazette newspapers, the very newspapers that these stamps were first commissioned in the first place because they had run out of stamps. And so they printed them locally. That's why there was only an 8-week run. So you've had to get a little bit of the history of that time too, which is really, really important. You can see which shapes are coming in, what they were loaded with, who was buying what, where they were coming from. It's fascinating. And what was going on in the world at that time. Yeah. And here's the original printing press. This is the Mecca. This is what they're going to come for. They're going to be able to touch that. That is unbelievably exciting to a stamp collector. It really is, especially if you bought one part of it. Right, and we visit the Royal Gazette site. And we visit the philately shop in the post office. There they've got first day covers, stamps from every era, an absolute mecca for for stamp collectors and historians and anyone interested in Guyana, and there is going to be so much interest in Guyana. And this is a really interesting aspect. We also visit the Tortoise Protective Haven, where 12 giant yellow and red tortoises roam. This was featured in the 2012 Reptiles edition of the South American Stamp Edition. And they have now a philatelic library, which was opened by the Prime Minister last year. And finally, we end up, because we believe the mediums of food, culture, music, and history all coming together to tell a story is one of the nicest ways to tell any kind of story. So we sit back at the secret garden and we enjoy a sumptuous meal of traditional British colonial fare with a Guyanese twist. And entertain you with some apt music from that era. And just like this.
Thank you very much, my dear. You guys know about sea shanties, right? If you don't have to clap, but this is kind of how it goes, right? There once was a stamp we put to sea, one said magenta that she may be. Oh gosh, let's see. The wind blew up in little Georgetown. Now we watch her millions grow. Soon may the letterman come, we'll bring us sugar and tea and rum, and one day when the tugging is done, we'll take our stamp and go. Let me see this one. The stamp was fit for a queen. This one said magenta was made a king. The wind blew up in little Georgetown. Now we watched our millions grow. Soon may the weatherman come, we'll bring us sugar and tea, and one day when done, we'll take our stamp and go. No less through Britain, US and France, once sent magenta, did make them dance in a little old town, in little Georgetown. We'll watch our millions grow. Soon may the weatherman come, we'll bring us sugar and tea and rum, and one day when the tugging is done, we'll take our stamp and go. Soon may the letterman come, we'll bring us sugar and tea and rum, and one day when the tugging is done, we'll take our stamp and go. I just wrote that this finish this morning.
Wow. Well, if you wrote that this morning, I have to say that, it's definitely musical and brought a lot of energy. I could actually see, lots of people singing together, seeing the millions grow. And that's actually something that's very interesting about, history, and in this case, even the 1 cent magenta tour. Stamps are some of the smallest pieces of history that you could possibly think about. Something that's less than an inch wide, less than an inch long, and they go all over the world, taking different parts of your history to all these different countries. And you get to see all of that in the tour hosted by Singing Chef Adventures. Now, keeping along that theme of history, we're going to go to a tour that takes you through Guyana's 10th town. It's just about 415 meters above sea level, which is a lot higher than Georgetown. And it's a town that has a lot of history that actually connects Guyana to the rest of the Caribbean. There were actually lots of St. Lucians who came down to mine the gold when the word got out in Madia. You actually get the chance to see that and hear more, so I'm not going to take the liberty of talking all the history. So I welcome the representative from Touring Guyana to tell you about her tour on to Madia.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shavana Gulchan from Touring Guyana, and I'm here to present one of our new products, Madia Tour. But before I get into that, let me just tell you a little bit about our company. So Touring Guyana initially started as a hobby, just traveling Guyana and see more of it. And we were just mystified by its beauty, and we started posting on social media. And the feedback that we got from our followers was overwhelming, and we started with the tours. And from there on, it just took off. We started going to a whole lot of different places, and these are some reasons why you should book a tour with us. As I said, we offer very diverse destinations, and we do personalized and group tours. So even if it's just one person that's looking for adventure, fishing, bird watching, or just to relax, we can do a tour for you. Our booking is very easy. You can contact our friendly customer reps, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed. Persons will have an amazing adventure, and they will definitely leave our tours with a lot of unforgettable memories. These are some of the places that we offer. We offer the Rupununi 4 days, Linden 1 day, a hike in the rainforest on our Mazaruni River tour to Marshall Falls, the Essequibo Lakes to Lake Mainstay and Lake Kapoi, and of course the magnificent Kaichor and our new tour, Madhya. All right, so for the Madhya tour, it's a 3 days, 2 nights tour, and you're basically traveling from Georgetown to the heart of Guyana, to the heart of the jungle, passing through Linden, and then at Mabura, we head west to the gold and diamond mining town. Madhya is over 1,000 feet elevation, so yes, you'll be very high up. You don't have to worry about any tsunami coming or the coastline getting flooded out. And it's surrounded by the Ibini Mountains, and the most spectacular mountain being Eagle Mountain. 3 of the main spots that we touch on the tour are the Garaway or Denham Bridge. It's the only suspension bridge in the country, and it was built in 1933. And this bridge was built because of what everybody came to Guyana for, El Dorado, the gold. And persons at that time, it connects Bartica and Madhya, and it made the journey 5 days shorter. I'm not sure how long the initial journey took, but saving 5 days is a lot of days. 5. Go back down. Oh, go back up. Sorry about that. One more up. Next, we hit the Salboro Falls, which is in the Ibini Mountains. It's a short hike, so nothing too strenuous, and you get to cool down in the waterfall. Now, what is fascinating about this falls is that there is a reservoir built there, and that pumps water to the entire Madhya. So the residents there get that natural rainforest water right at the pipes in their homes. And thirdly, we visit the Chumachumari Falls, which is found on the Pataro River. This area also has a hydro. I don't think it's any longer functional, and it was also once a site for National Service. So a lot of history there. When you go on the tour, I'm not going to give away too much. You have to come on the tour to experience it. On this tour, persons are guaranteed a different way of life experience from what you're accustomed to on the coast. The first being gold used as a currency. So if you go to shops and stores, persons will not be using money to purchase anything that they want. A lot of gold miners there, they would use gold to make their purchases. You will be able to see gold mining camps as we traverse the jungle, and you'll see how pork knockers live. You'll get to experience the Pataro River at various points, and why I keep emphasizing on the Pataro River, that's a river from which Kaichor flows. And you'll also get to experience some hiking and rainforest, experience different types of food, such as roast meat, and visit various indigenous communities, El Paso and Chumachumari. And you'll have a greater understanding of when somebody tells you, oh, they're going in the bush and work. You'll get to actually see what it is, where they're going, and maybe some of what they're doing as well. This package starts at $87,000 Ghana per person, and it covers your transportation from Georgetown to all the sites mentioned, accommodations at Hines Hotel, tour guides and entrance fee are covered. Meals will be available for purchase separately at the various sites. And you can contact us via WhatsApp, email, our website, or on any social media at Touring Guyana. Thank you. And we have a little video here showing some clips of Madhya.
Well, there you have it, folks. The Madia tour from touring Guyana. Now, I wasn't kidding earlier when I said that we're delivering experiences across all 10 regions. And this year as well, one thing we're definitely doing also is delivering experiences or adventures in areas that previously weren't seeing tours or had that type of tourism development. That's part or a hallmark of what we do at the Guyana Tourism Authority in the product development department. Obviously, that comes with a lot of collaboration from the various private sector stakeholders, including the tour operators that you see sharing their work today. So to continue along that vein, this is something that is dear to my heart and I'm sure to the others as well in the product development team. And that's always community work. It's always really special to take time to work with the community, to see them come from the stage of ideas and dreams of having persons come to the community to experience the sights and scenes as well as their culture. And that's a very important part of what we do. So the next tour that I'd like to talk about, or I'd like to invite someone to talk about, is one such tour. A community that we spent quite some time working with. It's a bit remote, but the experience is more than worth it. It's absolutely breathtaking, and I don't want to use all the superlatives. So I'd like to welcome Kenneth and the team from Parima to present the Parima Village.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. At this time, I'd like to say how privileged I am to be standing here in front of so many new faces and quite a few familiar ones. I don't know how long I'm being given here, but I can assure you that I'll give you the brief version of what we're doing and what we are involved in as a community with various stakeholders within Guyana. Parima Village has always been a unique village with so many things about it. And I would like to say that tourism has never been something that we wanted to really get into. And so it has been a long journey getting here. Tourism had always been seen as a negative by former leaders, sad to say. And it only took some courage from especially the recent leaders to think about it and move forward with tourism. Special mention would be now the Member of Parliament Lee Williams, who's here on my right-hand side, and the current village Tushaw, Mr. Lennox Percy, on my left here. These guys have been instrumental in bringing us to where we are right now. Okay, so Parima Village is a remote village, as was stated earlier. But that is what makes it special, its remoteness. If you should take a flight from Georgetown, Ogle, to fly into my village, you take about an hour and a half to get there, fly over dense jungle and waterfalls to get here. And that's where you will meet up with the Arekuna people, the only Arekuna speaking people within Guyana. I'd like to say something about that because right now the Arekuna people are going extinct and it's something to be concerned about. Thanks to tourism, it is being revived, our culture is being revived, and the Arekuna people have seen themselves as a special set of people. And we want to, with the help of tourism, try to rediscover our uniqueness as a people. It is known as one of the cleanest villages in Guyana, and that is because the founders of the village had a vision which was very much influenced by the religion, which says cleanliness is next to godliness, and that is what the later generation have come up with, have been brought up with. As I said earlier, many waterfalls around there. The only means of getting around really is using the waterways. The church, for which I mentioned the religion, that's one and the only church within my community, which is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Well, this is one of the scenes that you will be privileged to see, getting around Parima, to and around Parima. I'm already feeling homesick here. That is the football. Football is the sport that we all love. And well, this is one of the playgrounds there. I'd like to mention something about this. This is one of the playgrounds, one of the two playgrounds in Parima that is maintained throughout the year. Nobody pays you to clean that. Everybody is cooperative there, and that's how we try to maintain. And this is just an example of how much cooperation is done there within the village. We emphasize on clean lawns around the village. We try to do our best to maintain it that way. And the waterways, we avoid dumping garbage into the rivers because we depend on it for various purposes. This is an example of what is coming up now within my village. Up to recent, people were so amazed with building houses with zinc roofing. But thanks to tourism again, we're going back to where we started in terms of bringing back our culture, the types of houses that we want to have within the near future, which is something I'm very happy to talk about. Well, this is just one of the pictures taken throughout our journey during the Icon filming activity there, where they were exposed to families that live a little farther off the village, that live in a simple setting. And so these children here are brought up with knowledge of basketry and weaving and so forth. This is one of the houses that are built now, again, within the village. Since tourism started, they saw the need, they saw the importance of maintaining or reviving our culture. Many people within my village still survive on hunting and fishing, through hunting and fishing. And it's something we want to focus on to. Sustainable use of the materials, resources that we have around us. Yes, we do eat that. We call them the termites. Termites is something I never know would, amaze people, even within Guyana. I do eat it, and a few other people eat it. Some of us have never tasted this as yet, but it's such a delicacy. If you should get a chance to have some of it. We call them the termites. You use it with pepper and so forth. Cassava bread, nothing new for us. Cassava bread is one of our chief meals within our village there. Parima is blessed with so many different scenes. The landscape is just special to us and so new, so raw. You feel very connected to it when you actually get there. We depend on everything from around that is around us. We depend on everything from the grass, the trees, rivers, for our survival. This is a welcoming sight when you come back from the famous Ochi waterfall. This is the the site that you will come out to. And this is one of the ladies there that would welcome you on your journey to Uchi. She speaks a bit of Spanish and no English. This is at the top of Uchi. It is a very beautiful, beautiful view. You get a very beautiful view from up there, where you get to see two famous waterfalls there. Cameron Waterfall, which is this one here, and the Uchi Waterfall, in close proximity. So you get to see two beautiful waterfalls, and the landscape at the top is just awesome. Also, you get a chance to raft down, and when I first said rafting to our clients coming to visit, they expected something, rougher than this, the journey. But I can guarantee that it's relatively safe, because you have experienced people around you the whole time. So we do rafting also. And this here is within an hour's walk, which is called Panasima Waterfall, that you would also get to see on your journey when you travel to Uchi and back. My friends here, there's so much to say about, and I know that when you travel somewhere, the experience that you share with somebody is not nearly as much as when you actually get there. The experience is so different. You feel reconnected with nature around you. You have a lot of time for introspect. You have a lot of time to reflect. You have a lot of time to say, you know what can I do to encourage such ventures as this one, community-based tourism? If you had asked me about community-based tourism a few years ago, I would have zero knowledge. But I think that growing up within the village, the little knowledge that we had as a community has helped us a lot in trying to develop a product that we now want to sell to all of you here to experience for yourselves. Thank you very much for the input of Wilderness Explorers, who was one of the first people to be there and helped us a lot, really. Also GTA. GT has been very instrumental. I really, really admire the work ethic of the employees there. And if I have to make special mention, I would have Miss Candice, I always get the name wrong. Candice has been working very closely with us. Thanks to her for her patience and her hard work. We can now see that we have come a long way here, and we continue. We'll continue to work with her and any other stakeholder that is willing to help us develop a product that everyone can really appreciate. Thank you very much for listening.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kenneth. I'm the Destination Development Manager at Wilderness Explorers. We are a tour company in Guyana. When you say destination management company, quite often no one knows what you're talking about. The easiest way to explain it is, we are a tour company, but in order for us to sell tours, we have to first develop those tours. And this is a good example of one of the projects where we work with communities like Parima, who has a vision, who has a goal, but needs a bit of help to realize that goal, that we are happy to be a part of their success story. I am just going to tell you a little bit about the actual itinerary that you do when you're on the ground at Parima, then maybe a little bit more about my experience there. Next slide. So of course, Sandra mentioned where Parima is. It's in Region 7 in the Upper Cayuga-Mazaruni. It's almost on the border with Guyana and Venezuela. Because of that, it's way more accessible to Venezuela than it is to the coast. So the community of Parima, it actually has a lot of similarities to indigenous communities in the Grand Savannah in Venezuela because of the close proximity to Venezuela. So it is a very unique indigenous community, I think, considering other indigenous communities in the country. The language is unique, the food is unique, the culture is unique. Even the arrows and bows that they use are uniquely different from other communities in the country. So it is really an exciting place. Go back one slide. Right? Of course, to get to Parima, you have to fly. You can fly directly to the village. It's a small grass airstrip there. If it rains, you really can't land on the airstrip, so then you'd have to fly to Camarang, which is downriver, and take a boat. Depending on how fast the boat is, that can take 2 hours, 1 hour to 4 hours to get there. But again, that journey through the river is absolutely beautiful. There is not much mining between Camarang and Parima, so it's really an intact environment that you can really enjoy, especially early in the morning. It's all misty, and you're really high up, so it's a really beautiful journey to get there. I have a short video here that was made landing on the airstrip in Parima. So even getting there is quite adventurous. You want to hit play on that slide? Operated so far, I think about 6, 7 times maybe. So it's 8 days itinerary. You have about 23 miles of hiking, 8 miles of rafting. You visit 3 amazing waterfalls. So this is an itinerary with 1 night in Georgetown, and this itinerary is geared towards persons who are coming to Guyana to do this specific itinerary. So you fly in, you have 1 night in Georgetown, you take the scheduled flight out to Parima. The following day, you take the first, you start off on your first trek. So you head up to the first campsite, which is about 3 miles roughly. But that might be your hardest day because you're actually going up to the top of the plateaus, and we'll see what that looks like in a bit. From there, you hike to Camarang Falls, where you spend the night. The following day, you hike to the Uchi Plateau, which I'm sure most of you in the room have seen pictures of. The day after that, you come down into the gorge, so you get to see the falls from the bottom. And the unique thing about Uchi Falls is that you can get really up close to the falls from the bottom and from the top as well. And it looks quite identical to Kaitro Falls. So quite often, people ask, oh, how did you get to the bottom of Kaichor Falls? But it's really Uchi Falls. From there, you raft back to the village, and the following day, you leave to fly back to Georgetown. One of the things you will notice is the itineraries are between Sunday and Fridays. And that's really important because Parima Village is a 7-day Adventist community, and they're really strict about the Sabbath. So from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday, no one works. And a part of developing new products is to really respect the customs of these communities. So we really design tours that falls within that specific period so that the community can continue to observe their religion and their traditions. Next slide. So here is a little map to give you an idea of what that journey is like. So the first bit in blue, that's your first day. The second day to Camarang. The third over to Uchi. The fourth down to the bottom of the falls and back out to the village. Next slide. Now, it is being sold as an adventure trip, and it is quite adventurous, but one thing about this trip is that it's a great opportunity for a cultural exchange. It's not just about hiking, it's not just about being in a very picturesque, beautiful environment, but it's also learning something along the way. Fortunately for Parima as a community and their proximity to Venezuela, a lot of the guides on this trip have actually worked in Venezuela as guides doing trips to Roraima, the Canaima National Park, and even Angel Falls. So they have already knowledge of guiding. The challenge, of course, was to teach a different type of guiding because in Venezuela, the style of tourism is different. It's about getting to a place, keeping the guests safe, taking some pictures and leaving. In Guyana, the type of tourism we practice, the type of tourism we encourage is an experience. We're selling an experience, and that's why we are launching here at an experiential product launch. So it's not just about the journey, it's about what you learn on that journey. And here's a picture of the guide, of the porters, really teaching the guest about the jungle. This is a Hiowa tree, and it's a tree where you use the sap for lighting fire. It smells like gasoline, but it also has a really sweet smell as well. And this thing, it's incredible how easy it is to catch fire and burn. So the guests would, learn about medicinal plants, learn about trees like Hiowa on the journey. So it's not just about the hiking. On the first day, it's really steep to get to the top of the plateau. This area here is one of the area halfway up that you stop and you have lunch at on your way there, and also to give people the chance to, rest their knees a bit because it is quite steep. Looking out back, you can see Parima village where you came from, and it's only going to get higher from here, so the views up there is absolutely amazing. This is one of their first campsite, and this picture was taken on one of our first trips out there before the community even was thinking about tourism. We had to take our own tents with us. However, lots of people find a hammock more comfortable, so we started to look at the possibility of using hammocks there. Next slide. So the second trip, we took stuff with us. We took a tarp, and we got there, and we built a hammock camp so that persons can sleep in hammock. And even that became an experience, sleeping in a hammock, because most of the guests have never slept in a hammock before. So the guides are now teaching them how to tie a hammock, how to sleep in a hammock, how to get the nets down. And surprisingly, the guests are even more interested in going and chopping the wood to build a tent, because when have they ever built a hammock camp in their lives? So all these little things that we take for granted on these trips now are becoming parts of the experience, and it's really helping the experience to become an exchange of culture. Now there's actually a semi-permanent campsite here, so you don't have to build a campsite every time you go. It's more sustainable for the environment there. So there is a sort of a semi-permanent structure there, so you only need to take your hammock. There's a little kitchen, There's someone based there now to take care of the guests, take care of you when you get there. Right. Of course, meals are cooked on an open fire, and it gets pretty cold up here in the night, so it's nice to just sit around the fire, tell stories. One of the things I love about the community is how friendly everyone is, from the community to the people you meet driving the boats, the guides, the porter. Everyone has a sense of humor, so it's quite easy to get along with everybody, and everyone speaks English as well. So for most of our guests who comes out of the UK, North America, it's quite easy for them to communicate with the guides, share experiences, share story, have a laugh, and that's often what happens in the afternoon around the campfire. This is just a picture of breakfast, and next slide. So from the first campsite, you have two amazing viewpoints. One of the viewpoints look back to the village, and the second viewpoint looks towards Uchi Falls. So it's in a great position to see where you've come from and where you're heading to, which is like the highlight of your entire trip. Of course, you're really high up and you're just overlooking pristine forest for as far as the eye can see, with tepuis in the background. So it's quite magical landscape. Next slide. So the second day, after an early breakfast, you leave and you head to Camarang Falls. Quite like 3/4 of the journey is in rainforest, and then you come out into the Grand Savannah, which is shared between Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil. This terrain, of course, it's much flatter than the first day when you're actually getting to the top of the plateau. It's about 9 miles of hiking. It takes about 5-6 hours depending on your pace, but it's much flatter, so it's not as strenuous, and you go at your own pace. Next slide. So when you get out into the savannah, of course, you're about maybe 3,000 feet here above sea level, with the tepuis in the background. And the tepui you're seeing in the background there is one of the tepuis that forms the chain of tepuis that stretches from Roraima, Wiyasapu, Wakamang, all the way down to Uchi area. So it's a very special area geographically. This is your second campsite. It's a little abandoned building out there that is enough for you to tie your hammocks in. Of course, again, you have to have a campfire because from 4 o'clock in the afternoon it starts to get cold. This was one of the first set of pictures that we took there. Now we're working with persons living in that area. The community of Parima is working with people living in that area to refurbish this building, to put in a proper roof, to put some walls in so that you can rent that building from them. And so when you book a tour to Parima, the money that you spend on these trips are, they have far-reaching impacts into people's lives, people who live all the way out in the highland savannas, in areas that hardly ever see people. Next slide. So in the morning, of course, one of the things I found funny is that, the guests would get up and they would want to go with the porters and with the guides, and they want to learn how to make float bake. They want to learn how to light a fire. They want to be involved in every aspect of this trip. And that's, again, a good example of, that experience. So when they leave, it's not just about where you were, it's about the journey you took through there and all of the things that you learned doing it. That's fine. Of course, great stories. I was showing this picture to someone from our office, Tony, and he's saying that guy has to be a fisherman because, they always exaggerate the size of the fish. But we saw in Sandro's presentation, they had some tiny little fish up there, right? But no, it's a great experience for the people of Parima to share their culture and to share their way of life with persons who are experiencing that for the first time. And they're able to do that with their guides, with their porters, with the cook, and to be really involved in every aspect of it. So this is the top of Camarang Falls. So when you get to Camarang Falls, it has a couple of drops before you get to the actual plunge, which is about 600 plus feet. So you actually bathe in the river on top of the falls, and it is such an amazing experience because you're in an area with nobody else around you, just a person in your group. You're swimming in there. When you look out over the falls, it looks like an infinity pool. So you're in the middle of nowhere in the highland savannah with your this natural infinity pool all to yourself with tepuis in the background. It's almost unreal. Again, a couple more pictures from the top of Camarang Falls. This is actually where it plummets over, so you can see a bit of the gorge there. Next picture. This is the last tiny drop before the big drop, so it falls a couple of times, sort of like little rapids before it falls, it plunges over. And this picture gives you a great view of the falls from a different angle. This is from the front of the falls, so you can really see how grand the falls is. And just to the side of it has a little waterfall. Well, we call it little, but in most countries in the Caribbean, that's like a highlight. And, you know, there's just, the waterfalls there are just so beautiful and grand that that's now like an afterthought. It's a different perspective, so you can see the big falls, but also the little falls in the corner, which often, you know, deserves some recognition. Because it is really, really beautiful. So your third day, you have about 2 hours of hiking to get to Uchi Falls. It's really close. So that allows you to really enjoy Camarang Falls and to have a slow start after you've had 2 really strenuous days to get there. So you come down to the Camarang Falls, you have a nice lunch, you cross over, and then you have a nice easy walk over to Uchi. Some of the landscapes there, so this is in the Grand Savannah. You are slowly going up in elevation, not evolution, to about 5,000 feet there. So along the way, you know, your guides will point out to you the termite mounds. And this is really important because for survival, for as a part of their culture, eating these termites has been happening for hundreds of years, and it's such a delicacy. And the way I describe it, people always laugh at me, it's like a citrusy new carpet. But it's a really unique taste. It tastes better than it probably looks. But it's a wonderful experience. And even, you know, the way you catch it, it's like fishing, but for termites. So you take a little piece of grass, you find a hole in the nest, and you put it in, and of course the army termites, the ones defending the colony, is going to bite onto it, and then you take it out, and you only get those. So you're really not affecting the health of the colony because the queen, the ones looking after the eggs, they're all still safe. It's just the army termites that you're capturing. And you use that in pepper sauce, you use it in a casrib sauce, you can just put it in a bottle with some salt and you snack on that. So it's a part of the culture out there. Again, more pictures from the Grand Savannah. Lovely tepuis in the background in every direction you look at. On the third day, you get to this little building on top of Uchi Falls. This building is where you have an actual bed, you have mosquito nets, you have a blanket and a pillow, and after you've been roughing it for the past 2 nights, it's like, this is the best accommodation in the world. You actually have a shower, you know, you have soap, you have a bathroom. It's a really nice place to finally relax a bit before you head back. It's a simple building, but it's very comfortable. You've got some place to sit. There's a little library. It's all in Spanish, so next slide. And the rooms, of course, are very simple. But for this room, for example, you're sleeping there, but when you look out, you're looking out over the Grand Savannah into Venezuela. It's a remarkable place. Next slide. As sunsets up here, you can imagine what sunsets are like up in this environment. It's just, pictures don't really do it justice. And because you're so high up, as the place gets colder, the clouds actually fall below where you are. So quite often in the nights, you're in the clouds or above the clouds. So it looks like something out of a fairy tale. The following day, we're going to start heading back to the village. So you're now going to go back downhill to the top of Uchi Falls and then into the gorge where you're going to visit the falls and head back to Parima. So this is what it looks like, and it's just an abrupt end. There is no gradual transition. You're in highland savannas and you get to the end of it and you're in rainforest. It's like someone drew a line here, and this is the end of the savannah, and you get to the end of it, it's rainforest, and then you start going down into the valley, into the gorge. So it's a really, really dramatic change in landscape, and there's so many different landscapes throughout this entire trip. On one of the days on your hike, you're going through cloud forest. So you're hiking and it's all misty and cloudy and the forest type change and it just magical is the word I use often to describe it here. So this is a picture from the top of Uchi Falls. Next one, you get right up close to it. Of course, beautiful bromeliads, orchids everywhere from the mist that is coming off of the falls. So look of the gorge. So you're actually going to be rafting down that gorge to get back to the village. More pictures of the gorge. So this is on the side of the plateau heading back down into the gorge. And if you look where the arrow is, that's where the Uchi Falls and Kamarang Falls meet up together there, and then they flow down that one river back to Parima. There's a picture from down at the bottom, so that's where the two rivers meets. Right now the water there was very low, but the water can be very high as well, and it fluctuates a lot. You have some rain up in the mountain and the river level comes up and down. Of course, the higher the river is, the more exciting the rafting because you're going much faster, but when it's like this, it's a really nice drift down the river. And after you've been hiking for the past 3 days, that is, you know, one of the best experiences you're going to have, just lying there, floating down this river in one of probably the most pristine environments you're going to be in. From the bottom of the falls, you actually head back up to the base of Uchi Falls. That's what it looks like. This is your first glimpse of Uchi. So you're in the forest, and then you come out into the river, and this is the first glimpse of Uchi that you get from the bottom. It's a bit closer. And you were just at the top of that falls earlier, at the top there, before you hike all the way down to the bottom. So it really gives you a good perspective of the falls from both areas. You get back to the bottom by the junction. You have your packed lunch there. Then you load up into your, next slide. You load up into your inflatable rafts and you head back to the village. Some pictures in the river there. And again, it's just a beautiful, tranquil drift down the river back to the village. Next slide. Now, this is the last waterfall, is Panasima. It's not as big as Uchi and Kamarang, but it's very powerful because now you've got two waterfalls feeding into this one. And when the water is high, there's a rock in the middle there. So the water hits it and then just sprays back up into the air. So it's quite dramatic. Along the way rafting, you have to portage, I think, 2 times because the rapids is so dangerous that you have to get up, get out of your raft, walk around, and get back in to get to this point. This is the last piece you portage. Next slide. This is a view from the bottom of Panasima Falls. More rafting pictures going. No, the rafting doesn't take you all the way back to the village. Parima is a community that is situated between 2 rapids. So there's a rapid upriver and there's a rapid downriver. So you can never actually drive directly to the village. You have to always portage 2 rapids to get there. So the last point is called Lime Tree Landing. You get off there and then you take all your stuff and it's a 30-45 minute walk back to the village. Right. Of course, all of your porters and guides are there with you every step of the way. They carry their stuff in their warashi, and quite often you see the guests putting on the warashi and trying to carry it, but they don't get really far. We call that monkey bridges, so you got to cross some of those to get back to the community. It's a very, the landscape in this area is very dramatic. From the beginning to end, you're going through very dramatic landscapes. Next slide. So again, this is the first itinerary which we just went through, and there's some prices there to give you an idea of what something like this costs. It's not cheap because it's so remote. It requires a support team to get you there. You have porters, you have guides, you have to have a cook and people to look after you. I like to describe it as being the real wild. You know, when you look on TV and you see people out there in the jungle, this is not that. This is the real wild. And that's one of the things, one of the way I describe it to potential people who want to do this. You have persons who have hiked all over the world, but it is quite, it does require a lot to operate. Next slide. Because it is a very expensive trip, and one of the complaints we often get is that tours in Guyana are so expensive that Guyanese can't do it. So in the development in this product, we kept that in mind, and we are looking at options with the community to develop shorter itineraries that will still take you to Uchi Falls, that will still take you to Camarang Falls, will give you the full experience in a shorter time, which will, of course, keep the price down. And we're actually in the process of working out another itinerary, which is going to be much shorter, which is not the long hike. It's going from the community to Uchi, being based there, and doing like day trips to Camarang, and that's going to be a lot cheaper than these itineraries. So it's really targeting every demographic and persons with different budgets so that everyone can be able to experience this amazing product that is being developed. Next slide. Now, of course, none of this couldn't have been possible without amazing partnerships. And tourism in Guyana is so small. It's a handful of people that works in tourism. Everybody knows everybody. But in order for it to work, the reason tourism is successful in Guyana is because we have amazing partnerships. This Parima village is is a really good example of that. We've got an indigenous community, a private sector company, and GTA, the government, all working together with a common goal to develop a product which is impacting the lives of people in this community. This is a training that was being done by the GTA to help the community, to teach them about food and beverage and food preparation, because of course a lot of the people coming here, they expect a certain standard. We want this product to be at an international standard like the other products in Guyana. In 2019, Guyana won so many awards for ecotourism, community-based tourism, sustainability. So when we're developing new products, we're keeping all of this in mind so that we can continue to win awards like these. Next slide. So the first time I ever went to Parima was to work on a shoot for a Primal Survivor in 2021. I've never been there before, never heard of it. I flew into the community, got there around 10 o'clock in the morning, hopped on, repacked my bag, and decided I was going to hike to Uchi. Well, I didn't really know what that entailed, but it was quite the adventure. I fell in love with the people there, very friendly, and I encourage you to go there. That's one of the things you fall in love with from the moment you arrive. People are so friendly and open and willing to share and talk to you and to learn about where you are from and to teach you about their culture. It's really inviting. So that's a clip from Primal Survivor, which is a series that was filmed in Parima. It's all about surviving a journey through the Amazon. But again, you get to see a really good video of what Camarang Falls look like there in that video. Next slide, Clyde. These are just some pictures from the shoot. And this is where the whole conversation really started about tourism in the community. I was talking to Tushao, and he was telling me, the community tourism was always something that was being mentioned in the community. There was, with every community, there is always a bit of pros and cons, especially when you really don't know what tourism is. And there's so many examples where tourism really didn't work, and people are often skeptical about it. So with good reasoning, the community was a bit skeptical about tourism, and I can remember one of the first conversations we had there with the GTA, with the community. Everyone was saying to us, we want to get involved in tourism. We don't know what it is. First, teach us what tourism is so that we can then make that decision. And that's the route we took with this community, is to really explain what tourism is and how it can benefit the community before we move forward. Coming back and talking a bit about partnership, developing an amazing product is one thing, but you can have a product, but if you don't get it to market, then who's going to come? Who's going to buy it? Who's going to support it? And this is why it's important to work with companies like us, like with the GTA, so that we can help to market and promote your destination, the product that you have. So this is two examples of, since the film in Parima. Now the film itself is being aired on the National Geographic Traveler on Disney+. So it's reaching hundreds of thousands of people that are learning about Parima through that film. It's on the cover of the Explore Guyana magazine for over there. It's on one of our brochures. And there's even a little write-up about the community there. So we helped develop the product, but we also took it to market. The next slide, please. This tour is also on our website. We have an e-commerce website where persons are able to go online and book directly. There's something to play on the. So on our website, it gives you a little overview of the trip. There is some highlights about the trip, a little description there, an overview of it. There is a gallery, so you get excited about it when you see the amazing pictures from there. Guests are able to see the itinerary, the day-by-day itinerary. They're able to see the information, so they can read about what they're going to be doing on every day. There is activities and highlight, essential information, things like what to pack, how to get to Guyana. So a lot of the communities, when they're starting in tourism, and you can book and pay online and come and do this trip. And a lot of these communities, when you're starting a new product, they don't have the infrastructure to have their own websites to reach the market, and this is where we come in and play a part in helping communities to really reach the target audience. Next slide. Another important marketing tool that we use is fam trips and media trips, and this again is an amazing example of one of that. We had a media trip, a journalist, an influencer there. He had an amazing time. He went back home. He's part of this company called Much Better Adventures. And this company sells adventure trips, but you see their tagline, to explore and protect the world's wild places, one adventure at a time. So they're focused on helping to preserve the environment, to preserve culture and all these things. Go back one. To preserve the environment, to preserve cultures, to foster the development of indigenous culture and the uniqueness of it through tourism. So it's a perfect fit for the type of product that Parima has. And if we weren't able to get that person to come here and do the trip and to fall in love with it, we probably would never be able to get this trip up on their website. And they sell trips like this around the world with a massive customer base. So this is one example of how, with the partnership with companies like us, we can help to connect the product to the people who are actually going to buy it, who has the money to spend on it. We had Dylan Efron, who's the brother of Zac Efron, who came and did a trip, did a 4-part series, 3 of which was in Parima, which you can look at on YouTube. The combined views on these videos were over 3 million. So the reach that Parima has so far is incredible. This is a short video of what they produced. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it makes you want to go. You could pause that part. Now, to develop a community tourism product like Parima takes an incredible amount of work, and it often takes a long time. On average, 3 to 4 years before a community who wants to get involved in tourism actually starts to have a product that they can sell, and to have a product that has reached the level that Parima is at. And one of the reasons Parima has moved so far in the space of a year is because of amazing partnerships like the one I mentioned with companies like ours who can really help to guide the community, take the product to market with the support from the GTA, but also with the drive from the community itself. And I'm really happy that we have people like Sandro here, I can stand Sandro, who has a vision, people like Tushao at the back, you stand Tushao, everyone can see you, who amazing leadership and helps to guide the process. We've got support from MP Lee, can stand, everyone can see you. And Oriel from the community, stand Oriel, so everyone can see, who really has a dedication and really put goes the extra mile to make things happen and to really get community buy-in and to make something like this possible in the space of time that it happened. So I'm really happy to have all of them here, and let's just give them a big round of applause for what they're able to accomplish. Next slide. Next slide. There's supposed to be a slide here for questions and to thank you all for listening to this really long presentation. All right. So does anyone have any questions on Parima? Any questions for Sandro, Tushao?
If you guys didn't have any burning questions immediately, you can always find them immediately after the program and ask them pretty much anything you want about Parima. Now, I just have one complaint before I move ahead with the program, and that's that Kenneth and Sandra and company miss a little bit about Parima. And in one word, I'd just like to say that Parima is phenomenal. It is so impactful, in fact, that when we were doing work there after one of the first trips, I wasn't there, but my phone was blowing up. Everybody was sending pictures saying, hey, I saw this in Parima, I saw that in Parima. And The two things that stood out most was the cleanliness of the village, most definitely, and then obviously the warmth and friendliness of the people. So aside from the spectacular views that you're going to see, you're going to go there and get an absolutely incredible human experience. And this, you could probably say, is the highlight of our work for the year 2022. So to tell you more about what we did this year, what we have coming, and so much more that the GTA may have in store, I'd like to welcome to the podium our director, Mr. Carmel Black.
Thank you, Omari. Kenneth has given me the very difficult task that presented last. But nevertheless, I'll endeavor to do my best. Tour operators, members of the media, other stakeholders, good afternoon. This is, I think, the fourth experiential product launch of the year. And this here culminates, I believe, 17 new experiences for 2022. The tasks that we were given and the challenge that we were given, from the start of this year is to develop new products, new experiences, trying to make, products more accessible and affordable to the different audiences. And I was reminded that, this afternoon, where did this vision come from? Why are we so focused on developing new product? Why are we doing this? Why are the energies towards development of new products or enhancing existing products? And, the simple answer is that, we were given a vision to develop a world-class product portfolio. And as you can see from these 4 products that are being launched today, you can see the quality of the experience coming to life. Kenneth did an excellent presentation on Kareem, and so did Shavana, the Mania Tours, and Ian and Jessica on the One Cent Magenta, and of course, Mr. Rodriguez, who presented on Tapakuma, exploring the Great Lakes of the Essequibo. But we were given a vision, firstly, from His Excellency, the President, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, to develop new products in country and to develop products not in a concentrated area, but to do it across all administrative regions. And as you can see from the products here and those that preceded this launch, we've certainly done so. We've looked at areas with potential. We've done a number of, product assessments, recce's with several stakeholders. You see them. I see Wally here, who's been on several of the assessments, Kieran and others that supplement and complement the small product development team. You can imagine that our team just consists of 3 persons. Phenomenal job. I haven't seen Candice in days. But that's just to show the commitment, and passion to develop products and to actually, complete the task that we were given. And today I'm very proud that we were able to, develop 17 products in 1 year. From the community standpoint, Parima, it is an absolutely breathtaking community, as you saw from the video and the presentations. Building off on our model of development, community led and owned. That's one model of development. I have seen the variants of the model in places like Napi. I've seen businesses like Bush Cow Eco Trails from Napi, or Bibichi Eco Lodge out of St. Cuthbert's Mission. More and more persons, resident of the community, are started out something entrepreneurial within these communities, and that, I think, it's something spectacular and something that we want to accelerate as we continue to develop more community products in 2023 and beyond. Our task is to support people, it's to support communities, And as you've heard before, supporting these communities, of course, is very cross-cutting. You support meaningful livelihoods for many people. It stops out migration from the communities, significantly reduces that, and all in all, the value that creating an enterprise within such a community is, the net value is very significant, and is something that we would like to continue to champion in the years to come. Of course, we can only do this in partnership, and that's why I'm happy to see MP Lee here, and Sandro, and Tishao, and others who've been instrumental in the development of Pariba. That same level of support and receptivity is important and fundamental for the development of these enterprises. And so far, in our experience at the Guyana Tourism Authority, we've had that level of reception and commitment to developing product, because we can't do it alone, of course. We're merely the vehicle to develop the product. The concentrated efforts and inputs really comes from the owners of the products, to the suppliers and to the tour operators, the DMCs. Those are the persons that bring it to the market. They're the ones that are involved in the consumer interactions and try to get a consistent flow of persons into these communities and areas. So it's been fabulous this year with the 17 products, and I know that we will continue to get the level of support into 2023. One of the things I want to say is that we need to ideate again. It's the end of the year. I don't know what I've tasked Candice with. It's not 17 again, but it's somewhere in the vicinity of 15, I believe, where we'll continue to explore areas with high potential and with the view of packaging these experiences. So whether it's a remote community or whether it's a historically significant product like the One Set Magenta, or whether it's trying to package a township like Shavana has done wonderfully well in New Amsterdam, and then we're seeing Badia and Linden and all the other towns being packaged, and then building off other activities in and around the towns. Will certainly complement that well. But my challenge to the tour operators, tour owners, is to bring new activities, bring them to the attention of Candice and myself and anyone involved in product development. We are willing, and most importantly, I think we have the resources to do those product assessments with you. And we want to support you in finding new products and eventually bringing them to market, really. So phenomenal job again. I guess I'll say to Shavana, and Jessica, and Ian, Christopher Chin and his team, to the team at Pariba, the Village Council, as well as the Tourism Committee, Wilderness Explorers, for bringing them to market, and all the others who've been involved, Tourism Guyana, Visit Guyana, all of those who've been integral in promoting these products, of course. Job well done. It's not finished yet. Of course, we need to continue to put them out into the market and ensure that they, are on the covers of magazines like the Explore Guyana and others. We need to have influencers cover them, and into the new year we'll be having several influencer trips, familiarization trips for products that we've developed last year and the year before and this year, so that persons understand are generally aware of the products that we have in country. It still remains one of the best tools, I believe, for persons to have a good understanding and to eventually put them into the catalog. We recently hosted a familiarization trip. Kenneth mentioned it, and the operator who is currently trying to justify Pariba into the catalog of this of that company did a wonderful job at selling at the debriefing dinner. We were mesmerized at the way he articulated the potential of the product and how well it was organized. Of course, it'd be difficult to not allude to some of the challenges in the sector. Of course, it's not a fairy tale, it's surreal as Pariba. There are challenges in the sector that we are addressing them, especially from a risk and safety management perspective. And come into the new week, we'll be addressing those matters head on so that we could continue to elevate the level of quality, safety, and sustainability of the products that we develop here in country. So, guys, once again, firstly, thank you for coming. I've really appreciated the presence of the media throughout Tourism Awareness Month. I know I had you quite busy and traveling throughout the length and breadth of Guyana, but I really appreciate your efforts to cover events. And yeah, we look forward to all the partnerships that we will build on in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kamla. And that's the, well, second to last thing before we get to the best part of the program, the refreshments. But just before we get there, I have to say thank you. So first and foremost, all of you for coming out here today, the Ministry of Tourism Industry and Commerce, our private sector stakeholders, including the ones that launched products here today, starting with Trail Masters Adventure Tours, Touring Guyana, Singing Chef Adventures, Wilderness Explorers, and of course, the wonderful team from Pariba Village. Also, like to give a special thanks to the various tour guides and operators also that helped us along the way in developing these products and bringing so many of them to bear this year. This year was very hectic, very stressful and tiring, but you guys made the journey not only a bit easier, but also a bit more entertaining. Also, special thanks to Hardmanston for the venue today, and again, special thanks to you guys for coming out. I have nothing else to add, so if your bellies have been grumbling, now is the time to get up, take a step outside, which is to my left after you exit the door, and enjoy the refreshments that we have available. Thank you very much.